Fool's Journey. Having encountered the suspicions of the moon, the fool sets out on the dark path into the unknown.
Oh, I'm not sure about this. I think I might have stepped in something.
Ah! What was that? I don't want to be here anymore! Just as the fool starts to lose himself to fear, he emerges into a bright, sun-soaked landscape. Before him sits a child upon a horse beneath a huge, smiling sun.
Welcome, fool.
Oh, thank goodness. Where am I?
In a safe place. You've faced your fears and come out the other side. I've come to shine my light into the darkest places of your soul. See now the path you've just walked.
That was it. That's what I was afraid of.
Things look very different when we can see them clearly.
But what about that horrible noise?
Yeah, sorry about that. We've been having some problems with the drains round here.
How does it feel to be free of all the scary things, Mr. Fool?
Pretty fantastic, if I'm honest. I feel like I could do anything.
Such is the life of one who has shone the light of consciousness upon the horrors that dwell within.
Yeah, you're right. This is amazing. By the way, is that a horn I can hear?
It sounds like you're being called.
To the faint sound of trumpeting, the fool ascends to the penultimate card. To be continued.
Welcome back to Keepy's Quest. This week we're emerging from the darkness and fear of the moon and into the bright radiance of the sun. This is quite simply a card of joy. We've passed between the towers, faced our fears, and come out the other side so the sun can shine its divine light into our souls. You ever wake up in the morning and feel like everything is just right with the world? Like everything is falling into place? That's the sun card right there. No more doubts and worries. Just that glow you feel inside when you've made it through the dark times and you know that everything's going to be okay. The card's position in the Fool's Journey, following the moon, is representative of a time in our lives when we've uncovered some issues that were buried deep in our subconscious and brought them out into the daylight. It can be a natural reaction to avoid thinking about certain things that give us a sense of fear or unease. However, the longer we leave these things festering in our minds, the worse they become and the more they seep into every aspect of our lives. Just like weeds in a garden, we feed the monster by ignoring it until it grows and starts to take over. The sun symbolizes the way we feel when we finally shine the light of consciousness onto that monster and realize it's not that scary after all. We can even make friends with it. We can apply this to many things, from the grand idea of spiritual enlightenment all the way to a breakthrough experience from psychotherapy. The methods and terminology employed to achieve this goal may vary, but the end result is the same. Rachel Pollack says, under the sun, everything becomes simple, joyous, and physical, the light of the unconscious brought into daily life.
Why didn't the sun need to go to university?
I don't know. Why didn't the sun need to go to university?
Because he's already got 1 million degrees.
Arthur Edward Waite's historical divinations read as material happiness, fortunate marriage, and contentment. Fortunate marriage is an interesting term. I guess he's just referring to being lucky in love and finding your soulmate. I'm sure the idea of an unfortunate marriage might resonate with a lot of people, so it's good to know that this card is the opposite of that. Earlier cards shared the idea of an anthropomorphized sun shining in the sky. The Visconti Sforza card is an interesting image. The main figure looks a bit like he's just stolen the head off a statue and is running away to sell it, presumably so he can get some money to buy clothes. The Tower de Marseille card shows us 2 children playing beneath the sun with a wall behind them, something that was carried over into the Waite Smith card. Again, as with the moon, we can see drops falling from the sun onto the scene below. Referring to this card, Waite says Cout de Gébelin termed these tears of gold and of pearl, just as he identified the lunar dew with the tears of Isis.
So who's this Cout de Gébelin then?
A brief history of Cout de Gébelin.
Anton Cout de Gébelin was an 18th century French scholar and Protestant pastor. Gébelin was fascinated by mythology and ancient languages and went on to publish many works on the natural history of speech and grammar. In 1781 he produced a work which I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, but translates to The Primeval World, Analysed and Compared to the Modern World. A chapter in this was dedicated to the tarot, which he believed to contain the secrets of the Egyptians. In the book was an appendix that gave suggestions for cartomancy. 2 years later this came to the attention of the French fortune teller Italia, who published a technique for reading tarot cards. This kick-started the modern practice of tarot reading.
We get a general feeling of bliss and delight from all of the cards, despite the slightly bored look on the face of the Marseille sun. Maybe he's fed up with all the happiness and just wants to go scare some vampires. On the Rider Waite card, we see a slightly more peaceful looking sun with some straight and squiggly lines coming from it. Waite says the sun is that of consciousness in the spirit, the direct as the antithesis to the reflected light. He's making another reference to the moon card here, which precedes the sun in the major arcana. According to Paul Foster Case, the rays of the sun are alternatively waved and salient. The wavy rays represent vibration. The straight ones represent radiation. Case seems to be referring here to the wavy lines we see in things like sound waves, which are caused by vibration, and the straight lines we see in electromagnetic radiation. This would refer to light rays, X-rays, gamma rays, and so on. He's trying to put forward the idea that the forces of nature are human in origin and inexorably connected to our consciousness and perception. He goes on to say it represents the truth that the seemingly material forces of nature really are modes of a conscious energy, essentially human in character and potencies. I'm not going to go too far into this as it gets very deep and there's much controversy surrounding it, but the basic idea is that our consciousness could potentially have an influence on quantum mechanics and reality as we experience it. I do find this stuff fascinating, but there are far more qualified people than me to explain, so I'll leave it to the experts.
Shall I have a go?
No. Anyway, beneath the sun we find a child sat on a white horse carrying a red banner. Once again, the child represents our innocence and that feeling we get when we're free of worries and doubts. According to Waite, the characteristic type of humanity has become a little child therein, a child in the sense of simplicity and innocence, in the sense of wisdom. This brings to mind the biblical passage in Isaiah. The wolf shall live with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them all. Waite says in that simplicity he bears the seal of nature and of art. In that innocence he signifies the restored world. Again we see a reference to nature and art here. This seems to signify the idea of the natural world, which is governed by physics, and the human world, which is more about thoughts, emotions and ideas. One of the goals of the occult journey is to combine these concepts into a single unified notion, kind of like a reality sandwich.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna fly to the sun.
Don't be ridiculous. You'll burn to a crisp.
No, it's alright. It'll be night by the time I get there.
In terms of the red banner, there are many associations to this, but a prevailing idea is one of victory. The triumph of overcoming the fears of the unconscious is depicted by the banner blowing freely in the wind. Behind the child we see a wall. According to Rachel Pollock, the grey stone wall in the picture represents the past life, bound by a narrow perception of reality. The superconsciousness of the sun is characterized by feeling a part of the whole rather than an isolated individual. This goes back to a concept we see in many flavors of spirituality and in science, the idea that we're connected to everything in the universe and to all conscious beings. Albert Einstein once said that when something vibrates, the electrons of the entire universe resonate with it. Everything is connected. The greatest tragedy of human existence is the illusion of separateness. The wall symbolizes that illusion, that we are somehow separate from each other and the universe as a whole. The child sits on the other side of the wall, to illustrate that he has moved beyond this illusion. Above the wall we can see 4 sunflowers. Paul Foster Case says that these represent the 4 Kabbalistic worlds. Again, we're going back to the tree of life here, and the way the tree is split into 4 distinct worlds. I'm going to cover this much deeper in future videos, but for now I just wanted to give you a rough guide. At the top is the world of Absolute, which contains the 3 uppermost Sephira. This is the world of archetypes, divinity, and raw potential. The next 3 Sephira comprises the world of Beriah and creation. This is thought to be the realm of the conscious mind. Beneath that, we find the world of Yetzirah and formation. This is where ideas start to coalesce into something tangible. Finally, at the bottom, we find the world of Asiyah, which contains the single Sephirot of Malkut. This is physical reality, which we experience every day. Before we get onto the reading section of the sun, I just wanted to mention that Pamela Coleman Smith, who painted all of these tarot cards, wrote the word love beneath her monogram in the bottom corner of the card. We've talked before about how love is thought to be the opposite of fear, and this ties in nicely with the sun following the moon in the major arcana.
But what does it all mean?
The sun is universally associated with joy, happiness, and contentment. The card can be a sign of clarity and things falling into place, not just in the material world but psychologically and spiritually. It symbolizes a powerful sense of assurance within ourselves. Following the collapse of the ego that we saw in the tower, and the dark night of the soul represented by the moon, the sun shines the light of authenticity into all our dark places, illuminating our true nature and allowing us to continue our journey with the highest physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. The sun gives us reassurance that everything is going to be okay. Waite calls it the great and holy light, which goes before the endless procession of humanity. coming out from the walled garden of the sensitive life and passing on the journey home. When the card appears upside down, this is another one where Waite says it represents the same in a lesser sense. Do you ever get the feeling that he ran out of things to write? It's the same, but there's just less of it. Personally, I prefer Rachel Pollack's idea, that sometimes we can get so locked up in our minds that we can be unaware that things are actually going really well for us. She says, reversed, the good things do not become lost but confused, as if the sun had become clouded over. Life is still giving the person a time of simple happiness, but it cannot be seen so clearly.
Korrespondence Korner!
The sun sits on the 30th path of the Tree of Life between Hod and Yesod. This is the path between splendor and foundation. He corresponds to the Hebrew letter Resh, which means head. His musical note is D natural.
Tastes like chicken.
His corresponding herb is Angelica, and his planet, of course, is the sun.
I know the sun isn't a planet. We're referring here to the classical planets of antiquity that were recognized by the Babylonians, so complain to them, although you'll be lucky to get an apology as they're all a bit dead. The sun speaks to the child in all of us, that part of ourselves that is still filled with wonder at the universe around us, the souls that inhabit this time and space, and the raw potential we possess in the human essence. Waite says, when the self-knowing spirit has dawned in the consciousness above the natural mind, that mind in its renewal leads forth the animal nature in a state of perfect conformity.
Thank you for joining us once again on Kippy's Quest. May the coming days bring you brightness, contentment, and we'd be delighted if you'd like this video and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.